Investigation into singer David has intensified after the body of a teenager was discovered in a Tesla that has been linked.
So I didn't even said it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true.
This Celeste and David case just took a turn from dark to downright horrific. The feds finally pieced together a timeline that shows David moving reckless with Celeste. But before anyone could lock in their conclusions, his own brother Caleb came out swinging with a bombshell. He's claiming the so-called airtight timeline the feds are bragging about might not even be the real deal. Here's how the feds laid out their hand. They lined up a timeline of David and Celeste that looked crazy incriminating, detail after detail stacking up like it was impossible for him to escape. It all traces back to late 2021, early 2022, when David first linked up with Celeste online, through Fortnite. David was around 16 or 17, while Celeste was barely 11 or 12, and that age gap sent alarms blaring everywhere. The feds aren't brushing that off, not for a second. Then comes March 28th, 2022, David drops a track called Decide. And listen to this. The lyrics mention, "Save your tears, 7 years." People started whispering that he was basically hinting at Celeste's age, almost like he was waiting for her to hit 18. Creepy vibes all around. Then fast forward to September 7th, 2022, Celeste's birthday. David releases Romantic on the exact same day. Fans know artists often connect their songs to real-life moments, but the feds flagged that as way too suspicious. By October, Discord chats start popping up, and that's when things really heat up. David's on Discord asking, "Is Celeste in here?" And she actually replies,
This album is my life. Like, Withered is my life. Petals of Thorns and Lost Petals are what I wanted my life to be, and then Withered is my life.
From there, 2023 takes a wild turn. A Twitch stream catches David laughing with Celeste about some controversial stuff before he suddenly panics and tells her to delete the VOD. That move alone had investigators giving him the hardest side-eye. By February 2024, things get even messier. Celeste's mom files her missing for the very first time. And at that same moment, David's comments blow up with people saying, "LAPD's gonna catch him for messing with a 13-year-old. Not long after, fresh photos of him and Celeste surface. Like clockwork, every time she disappears, proof shows she's still around him. Spring 2024, she's gone again, pops back up briefly, then vanishes once more. By June, she's off the radar, but come August, boom, she's spotted backstage with David. And Discord users are even calling it out, literally saying, "Drop the one with the missing girl." Celeste's story had the internet buzzing before cops even caught up, and then it turned downright grim. September 2025, a body turns up dismembered, stuffed inside the trunk of a Tesla. A Tesla registered to David. That's the kind of detail the feds stacked up like a final nail in the coffin, and the fallout hit fast. Within days, police raided his manager's house. His label cut ties without hesitation. David scrambled, wiping his Reddit, locking down his Fortnite stats, trying to erase any trace of what he'd been up to. By then, the timeline looked airtight, every path circling right back to him. But here's the twist. This same timeline the feds are holding up as their smoking gun? David's own brother Caleb is out here calling the whole thing into question. Caleb's basically saying all those dates and receipts don't scream guilty, they scream setup. And that flips the whole case upside down. But the second the feds dropped their so-called airtight timeline, the whispers started, rumors flying that David's own brother might actually be working hand in hand with the cops. People are saying Caleb didn't just cut ties, he might be fully cooperating. Reddit threads are even accusing him of straight-up snitching, pointing to his own music and hinting that he knew way more about Celeste than he ever let on. If that's true, Caleb isn't just the brother dropping bombshells. He'd be the brother secretly helping law enforcement stitch this case together piece by piece. In hip-hop, the word snitch hits way different. It's not just a label, it's a scar. Some fans call it straight-up betrayal, while others say it's justice finally catching up. But let's rewind to what really sparked the fire. Reports started floating that Caleb was quietly working with police, shaken by the disturbing accusations tied to David. At the same time, Reddit detectives went digging through his lyrics, swearing that some of Caleb's bars lined up almost too perfectly with what went down between David and Celeste. Then came the kicker, a blurry photo that supposedly shows Caleb backstage with Celeste at one of David's shows. That image alone had the internet demanding answers. Did Caleb know more than he let on? Did he stay silent? Or is he scrambling now to clear his own name before it all blows up even worse? So far, nothing's been confirmed. LAPD hasn't said a word about Caleb cooperating, but the silence, it's only making the rumors scream louder. Some reports even claimed Caleb's been working hand in hand with the authorities, and the internet ran wild with it. Whether that's solid fact or just clout-chasing journalism, the damage is already done. Caleb's name is tangled in the storm now, but let's keep it real. If he is cooperating, what's his true angle? Is he trying to break away from David before the feds start linking the whole camp? Don't forget, David's manager already had his house raided, and the label wasted no time cutting him off. The circle closest to David is already slicing ties left and right. So if Caleb steps into the spotlight as the informant brother, that move could either be his way of saving his own skin or his way of burying David once and for all. And right here, this is where the story takes an even darker turn. If Caleb really is feeding info to the cops, then suddenly all those cryptic songs, the shady voicemails, even the tattoos, they stop looking like random weirdness and start looking like straight-up evidence, the kind of evidence that could push David's whole case right over the edge. But before we crown Caleb the ultimate snitch, we gotta dig into the wild storm of rumors that's been exploding online. From false leads to viral posts, the internet's been muddying the waters since day one. The craziest rumor? That viral pregnancy claim. A post on X racked up over 2.5 million views, saying Celeste was pregnant when she died, and that infant remains were found near David's house. That post had people losing their minds, even though nothing was ever confirmed. That pregnancy claim sent shockwaves through the fan base. People were saying this wasn't just some twisted relationship, it was something even darker. But here's the cold truth. That rumor's been fully debunked. No official reports, no forensic proof, nothing from law enforcement to back it up. Just straight up misinformation spreading like wildfire because fans were starving for answers. Then came the drama about Celeste's aunt, and this one is straight up messy. Screenshots show her posting shoutouts, flexing her brand new talent badge, and almost treating the tragedy like a content hustle. Some call it blatant clout chasing, while others defend her saying she's just coping her own way. Either way, it had fans side-eyeing the family dynamic heavy. And all this chaos, the false leads, family drama, viral posts, it makes it almost impossible to separate fact from fiction. On one side, you've got federal investigators quietly stacking evidence for a homicide case. On the other, internet detectives firing off wild theories, half of which collapse under the slightest check. It's a circus. But here's the twist. Maybe all this chaos isn't random at all. When the internet gets flooded with wild rumors, the real evidence sinks to the bottom. And if somebody wanted to cover their tracks or flat out distract from the truth, spamming timelines with lies would be the easiest play in the book. So the real question is this: are these false claims just desperate fans reaching for answers, or part of a bigger move to cloud the entire case? And here's where it turns truly disturbing. Because while everyone's chasing fake leads, the creepiest evidence might have been hiding in plain sight the whole time. Inside David's own music. The stuff tucked into his texts and bars feels less like coincidence and more like straight-up confession. If the Fed's timeline and Caleb's bombshells weren't heavy enough, the darkest clues might actually be sitting right there in David's songs and interviews for everyone to hear. Once you start pulling apart every lyric, every eerie voicemail, every emotional meltdown on stage, it all starts feeling less like art and more like evidence. And to understand it, you gotta rewind to David's background. His parents yanked him out of school, homeschooled him, and kept him locked in a strict, religious, controlling household. David even confirmed those details in an interview with Dazed. Some people claim that even back then, as a teen, he was already showing disturbing obsessions, fixated on blood, death, and violence, before video games and isolation only pushed him further down that path. Then the fame hit. He blew up online, the cash started pouring in, and suddenly his parents loosened the leash, letting him run free. But that freedom, combined with his obsession with Celeste, might have been the perfect storm for disaster. To countless fans, Celeste wasn't just a girlfriend. She was the twisted centerpiece of his world, and the darkest theory, that David killed her sometime between October and January, either right before or right after wrapping his last album. When you dive into that album, the lyrics, the tone, even his interviews, the theory doesn't feel so far-fetched anymore. In one sit-down, David said, "That's what I feel for my art. It's beautiful for a time, so my music is only here for a temporary time. Withered is the process of going back to where I came from. I wanted the album to sound like a goodbye, a send-off to the next era or whatever I'm doing next." At the time, it sounded like typical artist talk. But looking back now, fans can't stop asking, was that goodbye to his career? Or goodbye to Celeste herself? He'd also obsessively referenced the invisible string theory and the Korean concept of jong, a deep emotional bond that refuses to break, even when the relationship turns toxic. David himself admitted, "The irony was that the person who taught me this begged, 'Don't leave me,' but in the end, she left anyway." Fans now hear that as more than heartbreak. It sounds like a chilling clue. And now that she's no longer in his life, it's almost impossible not to link those words straight back to Celeste. Then comes the flower symbolism. David's project withered transitions into talks of a deluxe follow-up, called Japanese Lily. In Japanese culture, the red spider lily isn't just a flower. It symbolizes death, mourning, and the separation between life and death. It blooms right as summer fades into fall, marking a chilling moment of transition. Was David just using this as an artsy metaphor for growth, or was it a coded nod to Celeste's fate? And here's what many fans call the smoking gun: Celeste's actual voice scattered across his tracks. In songs like "I Never Needed You in So Long," "Goodbye," her voicemails bleed through, crying, drunk, apologizing, saying she misses him. In the first track, you even hear her say, "You're always the one calling my phone. You have to figure out what's going on with you. Why are you?" It all paints the picture of a girl desperately trying to pull away, and a boy refusing to let go. The SoundCloud track "Satan's Pursuit" takes it even darker. Dropped in late 2023, David raps, "It kills me slowly, day by day. I need to find somewhere to clean my thoughts, but I'm not happy at all. I let Satan pursue me. I still miss you the way it was before I threw my life away." Was he confessing in real time? And it's not just in the recordings. His live performances turned unsettling too. In April 2025, during the BandLab experience, David broke down sobbing in the middle of Afterlife, unable to finish the song. Then again, in June, he performed it live and had another public breakdown on stage. Fans can't decide if it was grief, guilt, or both, but the scenes left everyone shaken. Add it all up: the birthday releases, the flower death imagery, the invisible string theory, Celeste's real voice on his tracks, his breakdowns on stage. To many fans, it's not coincidence anymore. It's obsession immortalized in music. And that leads us straight into the darkest theory yet, that David lived with Celeste's body for months before dumping her in a Tesla, hoping it would get towed and destroyed before anyone ever discovered it. Some fans even whisper maybe he wanted to get caught, because why else would he scatter so many chilling clues through his music and art? But here's the bigger question. If David really was spiraling like this, did the people closest to him know more than they've admitted? His management, his label, even his inner circle? And if they did, just how deep does this cover-up go? This is where the spotlight shifts. Because while the world keeps pointing fingers at David, more and more voices are starting to wonder if the ones around him, his team, his label, his camp, were also sitting on secrets they never wanted exposed. Let's start with Josh Marshall, David's manager. The feds raided his house right after Celeste's body was identified, and that alone had people asking why. Why would cops be digging into the manager unless they believed he was knee-deep in the mess too? And here's where it gets wild. Fans have been claiming Josh and the label weren't clueless at all. He's already been accused of enabling David's predatory behavior, with people saying they had warnings about Celeste being a missing minor way back in 2024. If that's true, then Josh can't hide behind ignorance. Celeste wasn't just another fan, she was reported missing, yet somehow kept showing up at David's shows, even backstage with his crew, all while underage. Anyone in David's circle could take one look at her and know she was too young. The fake IDs, the fact she couldn't even drive, and still popping up in concert photos, that should have been a screaming red flag. So why didn't anyone step in? The theory's simple. They looked the other way because the money was rolling in, and it only gets shadier. After LAPD searched David's rented apartment, reports say Josh pulled the plug on the lease immediately. Fans saw that as a straight-up cleanup move, trying to erase traces before cops could dig any deeper. The label didn't waste time either. They cut ties just as fast, almost like they already knew the storm was coming. And this is where Caleb slides back into the picture. If he's snitching, or at least cooperating, then investigators might not just be circling David anymore. They could be looking at everyone tied to him, management, the label, maybe even family. Caleb's distancing act, or quiet cooperation, could be his way of dodging the fallout, while Josh and the label scramble to scrub their names clean. At the end of the day, one thing is crystal clear. David's not the only one under suspicion anymore. His whole team is getting dragged into the mud. And the deeper this case goes, the more people believe this wasn't just one man spiraling. It was a whole system protecting him until the truth exploded. So what do you think? Was David a lone wolf losing control, or part of something much bigger? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns just like this.